Hello, and welcome to SpeakPodcasts. We're here again for episode 24. We have Luca in the building.
What's up, guys? How's it going?
I'm Blue, if you didn't know, and today we also have a special guest, Mr. Boom. Stick is in the house.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you guys asking me to come on. I'm truly excited to be here.
I'm glad. Thank you for being here. We appreciate that. So today we have some interesting stuff for you. It's going to get pretty serious. I just want to warn you all ahead of time. I will do another warning later for those who join us later live. If you don't know, we do have a live chat while the show is on. So if you want to come through and just talk with us, we do respond. Definitely do that. We start at 2 p.m. Eastern. And if you can't make that, then that's fine. You can listen later, which is what we appreciate anyhow. All right, let's get into our first part, which is our questions. And here you can learn more about us. Here you can see what we have to say. Our little, interesting questions. I feel like every week it gets weirder and weirder, but, who's to say? Let's start now. Today we have a short question time just because we have topics that are super long and I didn't want to bombard Mr. Boom with too many questions. But question number 1 is, would you rather vacation in Hawaii or Alaska, and why? Boom. I'm going to ask you that first because it's something that you could probably answer.
Oh, yeah. The easy answer would be sure Hawaii because of the sun and the beach and everything. But for me personally, I'd rather go to Alaska. Yeah. I like the cold. I like the snow. I think the scenery has got to be gorgeous during any time of the winter there. And, it's an unusual place that when you came back from, you would always remember your experience there.
Nice. I guess that's true. I didn't think about that. Because, of course, I said, hell fucking no. I'm going to Alaska. Done with it. Today's the first day that there's snow. And yesterday was the first day that there was snow. Sorry, my days are all blending together. And, yeah, I'm just nope, not stepping foot outside. I'm done. I am done. It just started and I'm done. So, yeah, But who knows? It'll probably snow in Hawaii one day. Jeez.
The way the world is, I would not be surprised at all.
Apparently it snowed in, the South this week. I was just what the hell?
Georgia got snow, and that's the hottest place in this country, at least one of them.
Where would you rather be, Luca? Or we could just talk about how Georgia got snow. We can't hear you. I don't know if you know.
I don't know if she's here.
Oh no!
Remember she said
so Luca did say that she was having some issues with her internet, so it looks like she dropped out. Well, we lost Luca, guys. Houston, oh, no. We have a problem. But yeah, I don't know if any of you in chat are from the South, but it snowed over there, and I don't think it was that much. I think it was 2 inches.
Yeah, but that's a big deal.
But that's crazy. It's supposed to be super warm over there. So when someone told me, they were like, "This, I think we've accumulated so much snow in one day than we have in like 30 years combined." And I was like, "What? That's insane. I cannot." You guys, in Houston, we got 8 here. In the UK, oh no. Why? I know in Florida it's not snowing.
No, Florida didn't get any snow.
I know it's not snowing in Florida. Freaking Florida. No snow in Florida. There we go. It snowed over here as well. Where are you? 13 inches? Oh my Lord.
I'm jealous.
You're jealous of 13 inches?
Yeah, we got 6 here in New York, and I wish it was 13 because my wife and we love the winter.
Oh my gosh. I would prefer no inches of snow, thanks. I don't even I don't understand, like, and I feel kind of like Texas has had it tough. Like,
oh yeah, this year has been so hard for them. It
they
doesn't
had
even
they had the hurricane, and then all of a sudden they just got snow, and it's just like, that doesn't make any sense, you know? Those two things, like, usually hurricanes happen in like more I mean, as we know, Puerto Rico.
Right. Sure.
Know, my poor island is you know, one of the places that was affected by the hurricanes, and usually places that are more tropical, places that have more water or are by the sea, are usually the places that are affected by hurricanes. And then all of a sudden it's like hurricane, snow. It's like, what? I feel really, you know, bad for them, but
oh yeah, for sure. Well, my wife has family there, and it took us almost a month to finally get in touch with her uncle.
Oh my gosh. Jeez.
Yeah.
I think we got Luca back.
Yes, we did.
Yes, sorry about that. You guys were breaking up for me. So.
We were just wondering what your answer was for, would you rather vacation in Hawaii or Alaska, and why?
Well, I've been to Hawaii, so.
I hate you. I've never been to Hawaii.
I mean, I guess maybe, I mean, I don't know, because I don't really want to go to Alaska. I have no interest in going there, but Hawaii is really nice. It's very, like, the water is so blue and the sand is, like, so, like, clear. You know, you just don't see stuff like that over here. So probably Hawaii again.
Yeah, the beaches over here are dirty.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I don't, like, listen, there have been stories about, I've heard a story. I didn't see it, but I heard a story about poop being in the water, just, like, floating. Well, yeah.
Nasty.
And like a baby diaper and like a pizza pie for some reason. 'Cause
that's pretty disgusting.
That makes sense, right? So yeah, I don't particularly enjoy the beaches around here. Just saying. Yeah, probably not a good idea to go to the beach in New York City, guys. All right, the next question we have is, what's the best or worst gift you've ever given or received? Luca, what would you say?
All right. Okay, my best gift. Okay. So it wasn't just one gift. It was like a collection of gifts, and it was for my birthday. This year, like earlier this year, because I didn't think I was gonna get anything, you know, from my friends, because I didn't get anything like the year prior. But I wasn't really close with anyone back then. But I just, you know, you plan for the worst, you know, hope for the best. So I just was going under the assumption, like, well, I'm not going to get anything from anyone. Like, I say they're my friends, but these people don't actually care about me. But I actually got a lot of stuff from people. And it wasn't like what they gave me. It was just the fact that I was just like, oh, shit, I actually have people who care about me. Like,
that's awesome.
I was shocked, you know, like I was shocked and I was moved, and it's just, it's awesome knowing that you actually have friends, you know what I mean? And for the longest time, I felt so disconnected from people, but like I met a couple of girls last year who you know, I met them at work, and it's kind of crazy how like people who are just your coworkers, it can blossom into something so meaningful. And
Sure.
yeah, it was just great. So that's it for me. And I don't think I've ever received a bad present before.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. What about you, Boom?
Well, I'm more of a giving kind of a person. Of course, you like to get gifts. That's awesome, right? But for me personally, the best gift that I ever gave was a Christmas present to my wife. And see, when she was very small, they had something when we were growing up, because I'm a little older than most of the crowd that I run in with. They had a Fisher Price line called Little People. And when she was very small, she was given a Little People, just like a family house where you can open up, and it had beds and the garage for the car, and it came with a little dog. So we were out shopping a couple of Christmases ago, and Hallmark had put out a miniature that you can hang on a tree, and she went crazy. And she's like, "Oh my God, I had this when I was a kid." So that particular Christmas, I made it my personal mission. I said, I got to see if I can get my hands on one of these, and you can go on eBay and you don't know what you're going to get. It just so happens that I was lucky enough to find a vintage collector, and me and her hit it off right away. And I was able to acquire a perfect mint 1968 version of the Little People house in the box with the original instructions and everything. It was so perfect that it looked like it was new.
Oh.
And that particular Christmas, I had set it up in the box in a way that when she opened it up, it was right there for her to see, and it was a personal experience that we will never forget. It's actually one of the highlights of my life with her.
Bro, that sounds awesome.
That's so romantic.
Yeah, listen, I know Mr. Boomstick doesn't sound like a romantic kind of a name, but I love being a good guy. I think that comes off on Twitter. It comes off in my videos. I hope it comes off to the audience today. My wife's my best friend, and she's my best friend first before she's my wife. And we have had an amazing 18 years together.
Oh gosh.
Sorry for the mushiness, people.
I'm allergic to mushy. No, but that's super sweet. It's so funny, right? Because you if you get to know people, and if you think about it, you can actually give people some amazing gifts. If you actually take the time to just like think about what would be something to surprise them with, because the best gifts I feel like are personalized gifts, like ones that someone, and then you base your gift decision off of like their likes or dislikes and things like that. And so, I don't know. I think that sometimes it's kind of hard to get gifts for people, because what do you get someone who has everything? You know what I mean? Like, especially if you ask someone and you're just like, hey, so, for, how you bring it up all slyly and you're just like, for Christmas, I think I want this. And the person's like, and then you're like, well, oh, what about you? Just like trying to bring up the conversation. And the person or the guy or the gal or your mom or whoever is just like, well, I mean, I don't know. There's nothing I really need or want. And I'm just like, really? Really? Can you give me a bone here? Can I just like So I feel like the worst gift that I've given has to be maybe like a gift card, just because I didn't know what the hell to give. And I kind of just was just like, all right, this is easy. And they could just buy whatever they want. So I'm just going to have to do this, because I honestly did not know what to get them. And I'm just like.
Sometimes buying your own gift through a gift card is the best way to go about it, because the person really won't be disappointed per se.
Yeah.
I know some people think gift cards are impersonal, but if you don't really know,
that's how I feel.
You'd hate to buy something for someone and they're like, oh, this is nice.
Well, that's
And,
how I feel. I feel like give me a gift card. I'll be super happy.
me too. That's exactly how I am.
But when you think about it the other way, it's like it's not as special, you know? It's not. I mean, I wouldn't think that it's not special, but other people might, you know, if you give them that. But who knows anymore? I mean, at this point,
I think it depends on what kind of relationship you have with someone. Like if you give your if you're a guy and you give your girlfriend like a gift card, I mean, shit's gonna be looking a little spooky for the next couple of days. So you got to be mindful of stuff like that. But if it's just like someone you're like, oh well, I mean, we're cool, but we're not super close. Let me just get you this, and yeah, I think it depends on what kind of relationship you have.
I feel like an appropriate amount for a gift card is maybe like 25.
If it's someone I'm not close to it, I put like maybe 15.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
That's another thing. Gift cards
also
are
could be
weird because like they'll know exactly how much they're worth, as opposed to like if you get a good deal on something like a present, and you're just like, oh, I got this for $10, but it looks like it's like $50. Let's go.
Yeah.
So there's that.
I mean, it could always be, you know, I hate to say this, sounds terrible, but it could always be cleaned up by what you write in the card. You know, like you're giving someone a gift card, but you can be more personal with the words that you say on the card.
Dude, you're such a romantic. What? No one reads them shits. No, I'm kidding.
Guys are not all guys are cavemen. Sorry to, you know, break the stereotype.
Yeah, that's actually really true. If you write something really heartfelt. I mean, I used to be a poet. I used to like have a way with words. And now at this point, I'm kind of just like, I don't feel like wasting time. Unless it's someone actually like really special. I don't feel like wasting words on people. Wow. Holidays are so fun for me. Anyhow.
You know what it is? It's a lot of stress. It's come on, you know, I mean, we're talking already.
Definitely.
We're only a few weeks away from Christmas. You know, it really pretty much any holiday as you get closer it's the pressure, it's the hustle and bustle, it's the
family.
I have to buy for this, the family. Some people you may not get along with, but you're gonna go because your mom is gonna be there, and it's all these different stresses that we put on ourselves that make it unfun, so to speak, you know, instead of it just because I remember being a kid and going over to my Weller's house where all my cousins were, and it was like the greatest thing ever, where it was like, oh my God, I haven't seen my cousins in a while. We're going to play with new toys. We're going to play a new system. My grandma was going to make arroz con pollo, you know.
Arroz con pollo, yo.
That was the jam, you know, and
Yes.
It was all the family was there. And it's, you know, it's the world is so fast now that you don't get a chance to really enjoy those kind of gatherings anymore. It's like, okay, you know, everyone's here, everyone eat, everyone go home. You know, it's I don't know. I think it's just the time that we're in, that it's such a fast moving world.
Yeah, for sure. We still kind of do that. My family does the whole like get together where they're just like, oh yeah, we'll make everything, you know, like pernil, like the special, you know, Latino dish. And that takes like freaking 6 hours to make, and they don't do it because they're like, no, it takes too long. And I'm like, but please. And they're like, no, you gotta wait. So, you know, there's that. But I didn't know you were Latino.
Yeah, my family originated, half of my family originated from Madrid, Spain, and they then migrated to Puerto Rico.
Yes.
And my grandmother came from Puerto Rico to here.
Yes.
And yeah, so I have a Spanish background, as well as I'm like a mix. I'm like a shake and bake bag, you know. My dad, yeah, my dad's family is from Poland, and
who did you spend the most time with?
My grandmother. I was there. Oh, when I was a kid, I tried to be there every weekend.
Puerto Rican grandmother?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sweet. Have you ever been to like Poland or Puerto Rico?
No. I hate to say this, but you know, my prior career was really hard to get extended time off.
Right.
And you know, those are places that you cannot go for 3 or 4 days. You know, you got to spend, you know, you got to go there for 10 days because, you know, obviously a flight like that's going to have you jet lagged terribly.
Yeah.
And you know, you want to at least get out there and enjoy the scenery as well as the food and the people and the atmosphere. And sadly enough, I'm going to probably do a lot of traveling, you know, later on in life, and that's perfectly fine.
That makes sense. I mean, you know, we're going to talk a little bit more about your career coming coming up, but
Sure.
I understand that. That makes sense. I have some more traveling to do myself. But let's move on to our next segment, which is our topic number 1. Topic number 1 today is online relationships. So with this, we're going to be a little, talking about online relationships, but it's not only going to be relationships that are romantic, it's relationships in general. So that means friendships or work relationships, because nowadays work relationships can be online only. I don't know if you all know the new job positions that are popping up that are just online ones, like virtual assistant. I was looking at that the other day, and it was quite interesting, where you assist someone but only via computer or phone and things like that. So it's kind of interesting. But the question today is, can they be meaningful? That's the main question we want to focus on today. And how do they compare to in real life relationships? And I thought that this was interesting because I feel that some people do think that in real life relationships are more meaningful than ones that you find online, but then there are people who find their best friends online, and they may not live really, close to each other, but they still have super meaningful and like important roles that they play in each other's lives. And so I wanted to see what you guys felt about that. What do you think, Boom?
Well, I'm more of a, I mean, I can see where it could work, it would, but and if I'm really referring to like a dating kind of a thing, more so than just a friendship thing, because a friendship I think could work easily. Because of technology, you could logistically see someone and talk to someone pretty much every day, right? Like if you meet someone on Xbox Live or PlayStation Network, and you start out as just a friend request, and you start talking while you're playing, and it becomes like, oh man, this dude or this chick is really cool, and it starts to blossom into a friendship. I can see how that could work. Whereas I'm more of a, like you said earlier, I'm more of a romantic type, and I want to be around the person that I'm dating or seeing, so to speak. And for initially, when you meet someone, I think, yes, it can work and it could blossom, but there's going to come a point where you're going to want a little bit of intimacy. You're going to want that personal connection with someone that's sitting right next to you, whether it be on the couch watching a movie, or in a restaurant having dinner, or anywhere else a relationship would go.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it would be a little difficult, but it would take a lot of trust between the two people to dedicate themselves to one another, where it was going to be like, okay, we're exclusive. We're going to try and get together at least once a month, let's just say. And of course, financial situations really come into play, where someone might not, if someone is in New York and the other person happens to be, let's say, in California, which is 3,000 miles away, even at these deal flights that they have, it's a lot of time and money that some people do not have.
Yeah.
So it would put, I don't know if it would, it's not easy to say it would put a strain, but it would definitely put a blockade, I think, in that relationship. Now, yes, can they work? Sure, absolutely. But there are a lot of variables that come into play. And I think being a friend with someone would certainly be easier than having an intimate relationship with someone as a girlfriend, boyfriend, or or whatever, to be honest.
The reason why I used the IRL, in real life, phrase is because a lot of people feel that your online persona or your online, self is a lot different than the person you are in person, or out in the world, I guess. And so there's a difference there sometimes, where people aren't the same online as they are in person.
Sure.
And so that's really what it gets down to, right? Where if people are being their true selves. And so if they are or aren't, like at what point does it become closer to, like, how do you, when you meet someone online, how do you become closer to that person, would you say?
Well, listen, I can speak for myself, and Luca and I have had numerous conversations on Xbox Live. We've talked over DM, and with me, again, this is just strictly myself. What you hear is exactly what you get. There's no, I'm more confident on, behind a computer screen as opposed to being in person. I'm exactly the same thing. So I for me, it would be easy. It'd be super easy. It'd actually be second nature because I'm not hiding who I am behind the keyboard. When I speak, like I'm speaking with you guys today, if you met me in real life, this is exactly how I would be. I'm open. I'm very friendly. I want to help as many people as I can. It's just, my my wife always compares me to Captain America, Mr. Do-Gooder, always wants to help everybody. And really, again, don't have six pack like him yet, but it's who I am in real life. And I like playing the role of a superhero. And it could be something as, letting someone cross the street in front of me, or helping an old lady get a can of soup from somewhere where she can't reach without her even having to ask. I do things like that because that's me.
Mm-hmm.
So how I am, in even in a relationship, if I were to meet someone, this is what they would get. There'd be no surprises. There'd be no like, oh man, and he's a whole different person and I don't know anymore. But the internet is the internet, and a lot of people feel super confident and super impressed with themselves when they're sitting behind a keyboard,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to sitting in next to someone or across from someone in a chair, and then it's a whole different person. So I again, it's for me, it would be easy. I can't speak for anyone else.
Okay. Luca?
I think online friendships, well, let's say this, online friendships are easier to maintain than relationships. I'm with Boom on that one. I don't think online relationships can work for a lot of people, but I know that there are some people I know who met their significant other online, and like they're still together. So that's cool. But friendships, I think it's a lot more easier to maintain. I've met a lot of really amazing people, and I've met some not so great people. And I think it really depends. In some ways, you can feel like you're closer with someone you met online because they can't really judge you because it's behind a computer screen. You can always just turn the computer off. But you know people in person. It may take a little bit longer for you to open up about certain things because they can see you, they can judge you, and I don't know. I think a lot of the times people forget that underneath the usernames, there are actual human beings behind the screen.
Very well said.
And
Yep.
it's very easy for people to dismiss others' opinions and dismiss others' feelings and say terrible things to each other just because it's like, well, they're not considering the fact that this is another person. And honestly, in the day and age we live in now, technology is so ingrained in all of our lives.
Yep.
I think that the friends that you meet online can be just as meaningful as the people that you meet in person. Because I have that. I have people in my day-to-day life who I adore, and then I have people I've met on like Xbox Live and Twitter who I adore. And I think it can all be meaningful. But at the same time, each friendship, each relationship, it takes time, it takes maintenance. And there have been a couple of people I've met who we've started off really close, and then our personalities just didn't mesh. We didn't click, and it kind of fell apart and dissolved. And those relationships, that, the pain that came from that, it was just as real as something I'd feel if I lost touch with someone who I used to be really close with, who I've seen like on a day-to-day basis, which like happened to me as well. A couple months ago, like someone I was best friends with since we were 18, we fell off, and that hurt. And then there have been people who, I thought we were really good, and I thought we were close, and I thought we could talk to each other, and things just kind of dissolved into nothing but bitterness and resentment towards each other. And it's unfortunate, you know, it's really unfortunate, but at the same time, it's kind of like, you know, despite how badly things may have gone, I still wish that person the best, and I hope that they're doing well. And you know, not everything has to be a battle. Sometimes things can just be free.
Do you feel that relationships grow quickly when you meet a person in person, or do online relationships, do you guys feel like online relationships take a little bit more time just because there is that like barrier where you don't see the person, you don't know how they are, you know, like when you speak to someone in person, you can see their facial expressions, you can tell by body language, like there's none of that is there when you're online. So do you think that the relationships in person can grow faster than a relationship over, you know, the internet?
Well, I mean, personally, I think that it almost is night and day from one to the other. Again, this is just my point of view. I think that being able to see someone and how they're going to react, again, with facial expressions and their body language, and whether you know if it's if the spark hits. You know, you go on, whether it's a blind date, or let's say, for instance, you meet someone online. That's just what we're referring to, and you guys decide to go out, and you meet up, and after like 15 minutes, you probably should know that you're like, oh yeah, I'm kind of not feeling this, but you kind of you let the date go. You don't run off to the bathroom and then you bounce out the back door. You give it a shot, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but to do that online, I think would be very difficult, simply because what we discussed earlier, some people are, their personas are what their tag name is. You know what I'm saying? That instead of, and you don't know if someone is childish, someone doesn't know how to act in a relationship, and it's, you have I think, more confidence sitting behind a screen where you can FaceTime someone instead of actually it's a whole different animal when you're in person. So maybe a lot of times people don't know how to act, so to speak. So I think it's very difficult. People who make it work, that's awesome. It's not something that I would want to try, though, because I'm more of a I want to get to know the person up close and personal.
Yeah, I think there is a particular kind of intimacy that happens when you are in person, and I think that a lot of the times it's easier online just because you're hiding behind, a username, or you can angle the camera a particular way, or you can post selfies that make you, that flatter your face. But in person, it's a lot more, you're putting yourself out there, right? Like there's no filter. You can't hide behind a computer screen and your keyboard. Like it's just one of those things where it's like you're there, flaws and all. And so I think that insecure people do find it easier to create and maintain relationships online, just because you can hide your flaws, or people won't be able to see the flaws that are there physically, and if you start talking, the flaws that are there within. Not to say that everyone should be hiding their flaws, but just to say that it's an easier process, right, to meet people that way. But I don't know if I would say that online relationships are less meaningful, right? Because there is that time that still takes place. You are still putting time in and effort in to talk to these people. So it's not that it's less meaningful, but I do think that online relationships are just different. I think I agree with you, Boom, where you say that the in-person, dynamic is different, and sometimes I feel like people need that. So if it were something where it's like you meet someone and they live not too far from you, right? You meet them online, but you can meet them in person because they're not too far. It's like a perfect thing. But if it's something where it's like they live halfway across the world and it's like, oh no, you know, and I mean this romantically and for friendships too. Like I just think that if it's something that's like a hybrid of both, you know, it's pretty awesome. Like that would be the ideal thing for me. But I can see both sides. You mentioned that your relationships did fall apart, Luca. So like, do you think that distance would be to blame for that? Do you think that distance has had any big part in the online relationships falling apart?
No, it was definitely their personality. You know, you meet someone like I've met a lot of really cool people in here, right? And sometimes you meet someone and it's like, oh, this person's awesome. Okay, we're gonna be great. We click, right? And other times it's like, that actually did not end up working out, because you actually get to know the person over the months and you're just like, oh wow, we're really just not as similar as I thought we were, or not as compatible as I thought we were. But at the same time, it's just kind of like I would like to use like Lady Foxfire, for instance, right? I'm gonna use her as an example. I met her and I was immediately like, this girl's amazing. We're gonna be great friends. And it took a while, but me and her are really good friends, and I tell her everything. I don't know if she tells me everything, and that's great. But I've also met other people who, you know, there was this guy I met, and honestly, when I met him, I was kind of like sketch on him. Like there was a couple things about him that made me like, But, you know, I was like willing to look past that. And then I realized, oh, maybe I shouldn't have looked past this, because our friendship fell apart just because of certain things that I just could not accept about him. Like the way he treated certain people and the way he reacted to certain things. I was like, oh, I can't co-sign this. I can't be a part of this, because even though I am totally one who says, you know, I don't really care how my friends are, you know, I accept my friends for how they are. It's fine. I do have a limit, and I have limits when it comes to certain things. And there's just certain things that no matter how much I care about someone and how much I want to be friends with them and how much I like them, and you know, I just can't accept. And it doesn't have anything to do with distance. I feel like distance is only an issue if it's a romantic relationship. If it's a friendship, it's fine. You know, you guys can plan to meet up in a couple of years. There's really just, I can't imagine what issues there would be unless it was just a clash of personalities, which is why I feel like a lot of people's friendships and relationships fall apart. It's the clash, you know? And, yeah, I mean, the guy I'm talking about, okay, this is not going to make people happy. I still miss him sometimes. I really did like being his friend, but it's just kind of like sometimes you have to realize that, hey, this is not good. This is not healthy. It's a very toxic relationship. I think it's best for both parties if we just move on and just leave it at that, you know, keep the things that we know about each other to ourselves and just move on with our lives, because there's really no point in dragging something out when you both know in your hearts that it's not going to work out.
The problem that I think happens a lot is where you meet someone and you think that they're a certain way, and then once, especially online, because once you realize like what they do and how they are with other people, and you see that they're different, and you don't like, it's not something that you necessarily see up front, because when they're with you, you know, you're not hanging out in a group, right? You're in a party with one person, and then if you're in a party, I guess, on Xbox Live with a whole bunch of people, then you can kind of maybe see how they are, but it's not necessarily the same. And I think that the problem with like the distance being involved is that it makes you think you know someone at first, right? The online relationships, but then, and I mean, I guess it can happen in person too, right? Because if a particular situation happens or comes up, then you can see a person's true colors. And so, you know, online it's a little harder to pinpoint the person and their personality. And so I do think that a lot of the times when you see a person, especially with how they react to something that they might, on their Twitter feed, or react to something that you do, or just things like that, and you realize, this person's not who you thought they were. It's a little bit, it still hurts, like you said, it still hurts to end a relationship or friendship or any kind of, thing, because when you invest time, like I said, it's still a part of you. It's still part of your life that you're giving. And so anyone that you spend time on, anyone that you hang out with, anyone that you listen to and they listen to you, anything that encompasses is a kind of relationship, whether you want to call it a friendship or not. And people might say they don't care, or people might say that it doesn't mean anything to them, but if you're investing time, you care. If you're taking the time out of your day to listen to a person, or to talk to a person, or to play games with someone, like, that's, you care, there's something there. And so it's just one of those things, right, where it's like, you don't know unless you're in it, right? But at the same time, you kind of have to experience it in order to know how to maneuver it, right? Because you live and you learn.
But I would like to point out that, I understand what you're saying in terms of, you think someone's one way and then they turn out to be a different way. I don't necessarily 100% believe that. I think that what you're seeing are other aspects of their personality, not that they're a completely different person. Like, when I tried to, I'll give an example. I'll give a couple examples, actually, right? When I was trying to talk to my friend Elliot about, like, how I felt like he had completely dismissed our relationship, he was like, "Oh, you've changed. You're not the person I thought you were." And I'm like, "I'm completely the person you thought I was. We changed. We both changed, and we grew and we adapt. But deep down, I'm still the person that we became, like, that, that I met, And there's someone else, right? There's this other girl. I was supposed to go out to dinner last night with a couple of friends, and one of her friends, Diana, she's like, "Actually, I can't go. My grandma's in the hospital." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." I text her. I let her know. Let me know if she needs anything. But the girl who was hosting the dinner, she actually messaged me. She's like, "Hey, maybe we should cancel. I don't feel right going out when Diana's grandma is in the hospital." And I was honestly, genuinely shocked, because this girl is probably the meanest person I've ever met. She's a huge bitch. She's always gossiping about people. I've heard her say stuff about Diana behind her back. She's probably said stuff about me behind my back. I don't really care at that. I don't care about that. But I was just genuinely shocked that she actually was like, "I don't feel right about this. Let's reschedule." Because it's kind of like, you see, it's all about perception, right? Mm-hmm. And you meet people, and the way they interact with you, it creates a perceived notion of the person. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's who the person is all the time. I could meet someone and I could be like, "Wow, this person's a huge asshole." But the people in their lives can be like, "Wow, this person's amazing. They're great. They treat me so well." It's all about perception, and it's all about the relationship you have with someone. And if you can't accept someone based off how they treat you and how much they care about you, and you have to think about them in terms of how they treat other people, or not even treat other people, how they act around other people. If you can't accept that, then I don't know. Like, it's just kind of a difficult thing to gauge. It's really, you have to look inside yourself and think, hey, am I going to be able to accept this about this person, that maybe they're not 100% who I thought they were, but that doesn't mean that they're completely different. It's just my perception of them is just a little bit different than how other people's perception of them is. Like, take me for instance. Oh my god, so many people think I'm a bitch, and I am a bitch. But I also have people who, like, I was talking to my bro Chase last night, and he was just like, "Yeah, Luca, sometimes I see you on Twitter and how you talk to certain people and how you react to certain things and how you get on people, right? But then it's like, you come and you talk to me, and I'm like, oh shit, yeah, okay. I mean, I don't 100% agree with what she was saying, but Luca has always been really good to me." And people know that I only go after people who come after me first, so there's that. But I just think it's all based off perception, and to be perfectly honest, you never really know a person. You don't really know anyone because everyone is just giving off the image of what they want to be, and there are cracks in that facade. No one's actually 100% a real person.
I don't think that's true. I think that's no. I think that people do show their true colors depending on the situations that they are in. And I think that depending on how close you are with someone, you can experience those situations and witness them. And I think that that's why it takes, like, in person, you most likely will witness those things, faster or more so than you would online. Because when you're online, you can kind of jump from situation to situation, unless it's someone that puts anything on, their online social medias. And I do think that, people will treat you the way that they treat other people eventually, right? Because if you treat someone like shit and that's in you, then it's in you to treat your friend like shit, especially if you feel a particular way, like if you guys are arguing.
Yeah, but to say that, it's like all of us have the potential to treat our friends like shit. It's just how things are.
Yeah, all of us.
We all experience anger in some way.
All of us do have the potential, except that some people have the threshold to be able to not treat particular people like shit, even if they are mad at them, right? Because if people are mad and they let their words get carried away, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, but I was angry. Is that an excuse? Is that
I don't agree with that. I think everyone has the potential to do something like that. Even if you're like, well, I personally didn't think what I said was bad. It's how the person took what you said and how they perceived it. So it really
that's not necessarily true. Some people, when you say something fucked up.
Do you?
You do. You do.
So there's no excuses, right?
Like I said, if people take things and if it's a miscommunication, then that's different, right? Because then you're willing to sit and you're willing to talk about it and you're willing to say like, hey, okay. But for the most part, because if they don't realize they did something fucked up or they said something fucked up, but they say it to people when they're angry, it's like, was it though?
It's just kind of like sometimes the way you feel about a situation, you could go to the person and approach them and be like, hey, what you said was messed up, you hurt my feelings, and then they could be like, whoa, I didn't actually mean it like that. No, you misunderstood what I meant. I didn't do anything wrong. So it's just kind of like, how do you approach a situation like that when the other person refuses to take responsibility because they think they can't do anything wrong?
I don't think it's necessarily that. I just think that it's more if they only say particular things when they're angry or to people that they don't care about and they are saying it to hurt their feelings, and then they say that same stuff to you, then does that person not know that they're saying something hurtful?
I mean, I don't know, because I've met people who have claimed that they didn't know that they were being assholes, and then it turned out it was like, wow, what you said was really terrible. Why would you say that to me? And they're just like, whoa, I didn't realize what I was saying was bad. So I think it really depends on the person. Now, for me personally, if I say something mean, then I'm aware that I'm saying something mean. But other people want to be in denial, so I don't know.
I think that people can still be upset or people can still not like someone and maybe in an argument and then still be respectful. I think that there's a way to be respectful and also get your point across as opposed to being nasty and only being nasty to people when you're mad and then later on just try to excuse it because you're mad. What do you think, Boom?
Well, here's the thing. I think what it really comes down to personally, and I'm speaking for myself, is how important is that person to you, right? That you're saying whatever you're going to say. Now, if you're in a group and you're with, let's say, your friend's friend, right? You know them through your friend, but they're not, considered your friend / family, like your best friend is, right? That's what you would consider, being as close as family as your best friend. And there, it would be, for me, I would be very reluctant to say something that would be harmful um, or disrespectful to my friend, my best friend, because he's my best friend. Now, how can you have disagreements and view different opinions? Of course, and that's life. But for me, it would be easier for me to say, hey, listen, to the friend of my best friend, you're being a dick, and I don't like what you said, and you know what, I'm going to remove myself from this situation. And and times like that, it's bad because you put your best friend in between. But it's really, I think, how you talk to somebody, whether it be an acquaintance, a friend, or a best friend, your personal feelings for that person, where they fall for you, how important they are to you, should determine what comes out of your mouth. And of course, in the heat of the moment, things are said, and sometimes we say hateful things or hurtful things that you want to take back. But I'm always, and again, this is me. I'm more of like a Ferdinand the Bull kind of a guy. I just want to stay under my shady tree and smell my flowers.
Yeah, man, I feel you, Boom, bro. I totally feel you on that. It's just kind of like, I think a lot of it also has to do is if you have a unhealthy relationship with someone and neither of you can seem to let go,
sure.
and your only option. Well, I mean, if you in the relationship, if all you end up doing is arguing with each other, then because neither of you can seem to what's the word?
Fight.
just give each other enough of that care and respect to care and respect to just say, hey, you know what, I actually don't want to hurt you. It's kind of like if you care about someone so much and you feel like they treat you like shit and that they don't care about you at all, you do want to hurt them. You want to lash out at them. And it goes both ways, because I've been in several arguments with certain people where it's just kind of like, wow, this is actually really, really bad. And as much as they want to pretend like they don't actually do anything, they do. So
yeah, in situations like that, I think the best course of action is to simply just stay away. I know it's easier said than done, but if you're going to meet someone and in the back of your mind there's that small piece of you that says, okay, I'm ready for them if they decide to give me some shit today, I don't know if I want to be around that, because that like you said is toxic, and it's bad for your health. And it's if you are gonna if you're gonna go to hang out with someone, and whether or not you're gonna have a good time or get into an argument, it's a flip of a coin. I think it's time to say it's probably better we don't stay friends. But that's just my opinion.
I agree with that 100%, bro, because I don't want to be in a friendship with someone where I feel like all we're going to end up doing is fighting because we can't understand each other. And I especially don't want to be friends with someone who refuses to even acknowledge the fact that maybe they're doing something wrong. I just think it's best if we just go our separate ways and move on, instead of trying to cling on to something that makes both of us miserable. Like, if you feel like you can't trust me, or if I don't care about you, or if all I do is hurt you, then yeah, that's on me. I fucked up, right? But it's also like, maybe I feel the same way. And you can't just put everything on me.
Right. And it's a two-way street for sure. It can't be just one way. Absolutely. You're 100% correct.
I mean, I agree with that. I just think that people don't know how to sit down and actually like talk about what it is that's the issue, right? And then if it's being talked about and brought up, it's not exactly being taken seriously sometimes, because I don't think that people are always willing to work on themselves, and I don't think that people are always willing to, make it something that is a priority for them. But I do think that it's important to. I'm loving the conversation in chat, and I love all the input that you guys are giving us. I'm reading everything, so don't think that I'm ignoring you all. I really appreciate you jumping in the conversation. It's important. These topics are super important to talk about. And I think willingness and wanting to try and bring it up, even if it's to try and bring up something that you might feel is your issue, is important. I do want to say that okay, so here's the thing where chat is involved. If you feel that if you're angry at someone and you want to hurt them because you're hurt, and like you have this thing where you want to hurt them before they hurt you, then that's something it's something you have to work on, right? Because if you constantly have this fear of being hurt or being dropped, and you kind of want to like not be hurt, then there's a possibility that you might be hurting people before they hurt you, so that you can sort of distance yourself from someone because you're afraid of getting too close. Because if you get too close, then what happens is there's a possibility of being hurt. And the closer you get to that person, the higher the chances, right? And so you may not realize it, but when you do things like while we were talking about in chat, like hurt people when you're angry, or do things to sort of like put distance between you, or sort of act one way with them, but then act differently in another situation, or with other people, but the same situation, like things like that are kind of red flags. They kind of tell you like, hey, this person has issues, which is fine. We all have issues, but the awareness of those issues and the willingness to work on those issues is what defines who you are, you know?
I couldn't agree more.
I think compromise is really important, and conversation is important, dialogue is important, but it really just depends, I think. And I think that in like all relationships, I have a lot of friends that are messed up. I know this. And the thing with me is that I'm willing to talk to them and try to come to an understanding and accept them for who they are. The only issue is people are not willing to do that with me. So I typically, no matter if I try and I fight, and I've been working on it for months now, and it doesn't seem like the person gives a shit, then I really think that the best course of action for me is to just be like, hey, you know what, this isn't working out, and I don't think you care that it's not working out. I don't think you want to work on the situation, so let's just go our separate ways, because we're all human. We're all, let's be honest, like, we're all fucked up, all of us, even everyone in the chat. We're all fucked up. We've all been through some really terrible things, and some people's baggage is too much to handle, and there's nothing wrong with removing yourself from a situation if you feel like that person is hurting you and doesn't want to change.
I think that it's important to have people in your life that challenge you, right? Because if you aren't challenged, if you aren't pushed, then you don't grow. And I think that it's important to kind of like situations tell a lot, and how the person reacts to situations, to those particular situations, tell a lot about a person, right? Because like a cliche here, actions speak louder than words, right? Where if you're noticing how a person reacts and how they handle particular things, then you can tell a lot about someone, more so than what they say. And the thing about that is that, and I mean, this is not necessarily something that is for everyone, right? Because some people don't pay attention to the little things or the little actions. But the idea here is that I don't know where that came from. But the idea here is that people don't always come forward with information, and people don't always know a lot about themselves, right? Because sitting down and reflecting is something that people don't always do. They kind of just go with it. They go with emotions. They kind of just always are reacting. And I think that we all need to kind of like sit and take a second to think about, okay, why did we do this? And what was the purpose? And instead of kind of running to other people who kind of always agree with you and never push back, and asking their opinion on things when they won't actually tell you what it is, I think, and that's why I think it's important for me in particular to have people around me that will let me know, hey, you fucked up, right? Because I don't necessarily always talk to people about my situations. And then when I do, it's mostly when it's like super mind-boggling and I actually need help. And the people that I go to tell me, like, because it's important to speak to people who can look at it in an unbiased way, because that's the only way that it'll help you, where they can tell you straight up, you did this, that was a problem. This person did this, that was a problem. And I try to do that for other people if they come to me with, you know, those kinds of issues. But I think that relationships are hard, right? Like, let's not even, they're super complicated. They're super There's a
lot of variables that go into it. And if you care about a said person, guy, girl, whatever, it doesn't matter, you will find a way. And then sometimes you hit brick walls. And there's only so many chances you can give a particular person.
Well, yeah, I agree. I don't think you should drag on a relationship if it's not working out. I think that I mean, of course, if it's a waste of your time and it's kind of like not going anywhere, then yeah, for sure, it's something that you probably should not do anymore, especially if it's hurting you. But I do think that it's important to realize that which party is willing, because there are people who don't give a fuck, truly really don't give a fuck, and don't try. And then if you meet someone who does try and who's willing to work on themselves and work on things, then it's hard to let that go super easily. It's hard to, you know, just like if someone is in a relationship where they feel like they love them, like that kind of thing happens with friendships too, where they're just like, well, this person's we're not working out, but is it something that I can't change? Is it something that is completely hopeless? You know what I mean?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, again, it has to be a willful act from both parties. It cannot be one person carrying the load and the other person just kind of, you know, thinking it as it not being as important to them. It has to be important to both parties. And if it's not, it's okay. Sometimes you just can't make it work no matter how much you try. And that's, you know what, that's life. Not to sound cheesy, but that sometimes you just got to walk away with it.
Yeah. So I think we said a lot on this topic. Of course, topic 1 was supposed to be light, but it got a little heavy, guys. So, you know, that's what we do here. But we're going to move on to our next segment, which is Girl, Let Me Tell You. And here we give you a little story from our lives about the things that we, you know, find funny or annoying or anything like that we want to share with you all. So, Luca, what's your Girl Let Me Tell You for this week?
I think she might have dropped out again.
Uh-oh. Okay, so I'll go first, and hopefully Luca will be able to head back in. My Girl Let Me Tell You. All right. So, yes, this is going to be another bus story. I think this is going to be like the last bus story from like the ultimate Blue on the Bus, where I had that 5-hour ride all the way to freaking Maryland. So everyone at the end of course, when we're pulling up to our destination, everyone has to suddenly use the bathroom. And I think it was like the last hour of the trip. I think everyone was just like trying to hold it and they just couldn't anymore. And so, of course, everyone just left and went to the bathroom back to back to back to back. And so I'm sitting there on my seat. And of course, I have the seat that's like close to, I don't have a window seat. Unfortunately, I got there right on time and everyone was there early. So I had to sit on the end close to the aisle. And every single person went to the bathroom and came back, and every single time they went to the bathroom and came back, they hit my arm. And I'm sitting there like, am I like, is this what's happening right now? Because am I sitting too close like to the aisle? Am I like not like, is my arm just like hanging out too far? I don't know. I tried moving in each and every time, and somehow someone found a way, whether it was with their bag, with their hip, with their hand, with their arm, just somebody found a way to hit me with their fucking shit. And I'm just like sitting there just super annoyed, kind of wondering, all right, is this just a joke? Is this a joke from the heavens above? Are y'all trying to get me worked up? Because not only is the man across from me being a dickhead, not only is the lady next to me eating some nasty smelling food and sitting up on her seat and hiking up her legs and shit, like all this crap happening around me. But no, you also have to have people hitting me with their bag, with their arm, with their leg, I don't want you to touch me. Don't touch me. Like, when I'm walking through aisles, I'm super aware of my body and I'm super aware of where my limbs are.
Yeah, it's called
and
being courteous.
I try not to like hit people on my way to the bathroom. Like, what? And I didn't even go to the bathroom. I was just like, yo, I'm not even stepping foot in there. All these people going, like, do you understand? Oh my God. I was just like done. I was just like, let me out of this freaking bus. I literally held my pee all the way for like the entire ride, and then as soon as I got out, I had to hold it even more because we had to drive some more. And then finally, when I went to the bathroom, we ended up in a this gas station. I don't know if anybody knows it. I think it's called Wowie, some shit like that. And and it was clean, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in heaven, the cleanest bathroom ever. And it was like super nice, and I sat down and I made my business. And I was like, thank goodness I did not have to go to the bathroom on the bus. That shit must have been disgusting.
Oh, I'm sure it was. It's probably gross.
I can't. Like, the bus just, I mean, whatever. Anyhow, what's your girl? Let me tell you.
Girl, let me tell you. Okay, now I'm retired. So I handle a lot of the chores for the house because, I have the opportunity to do so. So I do the wash usually for of course, me and my wife. And what I find to be so annoying, and like the common courtesy goes right out the window. In our building, there's 4 washers and 3 dryers, right? So and there's about 15 families per building. So you can imagine there's a lot of people that use it.
Yeah.
When I put my wash in, I look at my watch and I come down 10 minutes before to make sure that the person that's waiting after me doesn't have to wait, because I find that to be disrespectful. Now, has it happened in the past where I've gotten caught up doing something and I forgot? Sure, that happens to everybody. But I make it a mental note that I look at literally the minute it starts, I look at my watch. Now, again, this is a silly one. This is not serious at all. But don't you know that, you put in a wash cycle, it's 45 minutes. I come down and the person's clothes are sitting in the dryer, right? The dryer stopped. It's sitting there. I go upstairs. I come down 45 minutes. So, I don't like to touch other people's things. Again, it's called common courtesy. So what I do is I'm like slowly taking the pieces out, and I'm snapping the jeans to make sure there's no wrinkles, and I'm putting the stuff on the side that's got to come upstairs. And 20 minutes go by, and still the person hasn't come down. And of course, that's the last straw. Now I'm doing something I don't like to do, but I had to go and move these people's stuff out of the dryer. And when I come down to to get my stuff out of the dryer, their stuff is still sitting there, talking to over 2 hours. So, I mean, people, when you're doing your wash, look at your watch, be courteous to one another, okay? I mean, don't leave your stuff down there, because you know what? Not everyone is retired. People are trying to get stuff done during their shifts from work or from school or whenever they get a free chance. So don't be a dick.
Yeah. People are weird. I don't...
It's a silly one, but it's again, it's one of those common courtesy events where you're like, I would never do that to somebody. I would really never do that to somebody, because I think that's so wrong.
Yeah, I don't understand like what will possess you to even like I have to go to laundromat too, so like me. I can't wait until I get my washer dryer when I move, because like my apartment right now doesn't let me put a washer dryer in. So, and not that we have the space. There's like no space here. But I think
she's back. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Welcome
She's back. Jesus fucking Christ. Sorry to interrupt you. My girl, let me tell you, is my fucking brother for the past 3 days has fucking unplugged the internet several times with his girlfriend over. What is he doing? His girlfriend's here right now. It's unplugged again. What the fuck, man? Oh my God.
Yeah, so we were just talking about laundry. and
I'm sure
laundromats.
Luca would find the subject annoying as well. I could tell.
Oh, laundromats. I've lost a bra at a laundromat
No,
before.
I mean when people leave their stuff in there and what you're waiting for it to use it, it's.
Yeah, that's probably why they stole my bra, man. Like, I left my stuff in there. So they're like, I'm going to get it back for this one.
All right. Well, so I don't understand. I don't like to touch other people's clothes either. Clean or not. It's just not my thing. But let's move on. Was that your girl? Let me tell you for real, Luca?
No, like legit. I don't know what my brother's been doing, but when I was trying to stream a few days ago, fucking disconnected it twice. He's like, oh, I tripped over the cord. He destroyed my cord. I'm like, Nick, sir, okay, listen. My cord has been on the ground for at least a couple months, right? Never had any issues with it before. He's been fine. Ever since he started bringing his girlfriend over, shit's been looking a little fucking spooky. So the internet connection is pretty bad right now. I think maybe something's wrong with the box. I'm gonna have to talk to my grandparents about it, which I really don't want to do because they're just gonna start getting snippy with me. But shit needs to be fixed. And hey man, fuck younger siblings, man. They just be fucking up everything. It's hard being it's hard being an older sibling. It's hard being an older sibling.
Yeah, I'm an older sibling. But yeah, let's move on to our next segment, which is topic number 2. It's gonna get a little serious, guys. So yeah, I'll give you a trigger warning in a sec. So with topic number 2, we will be talking about 9/11. So I do want to give a trigger warning now so that if you do have a hard time with this topic, it's something that you can't listen to, then I suggest you kind of just, maybe mute us and then look for the little icon on the top right to see what we're talking about next and if we've moved on. And I do think that it's important to say that we will be hearing Boom's experience first-handedly, but what we continue to talk about later on in the following subtopic is not something that we have experience with. It's just something that we can speak of from the experience of not being treated a particular way, but just seeing the actions and seeing the aftermath of it all. So I just wanted to give that, out there. It would be great to have someone who can speak about it from firsthand, just like we're going to have Boom speak about his experience right now. And if you do have experience with anything that we are going to talk about later, definitely let us know in the comments below. Definitely come by and chat for following shows if you feel that you want to jump in the conversation. We do read everything that everyone's writing. And I think that is all. So Boom, tell us your story about 9/11. We want to hear what you were doing, what you were feeling, everything you experienced from the beginning, whenever you're ready.
Sure. Well, a lot of people don't know this, and this is, it's a big deal for me, saying this publicly. But I know produce an amazing career, and I helped numerous people. But what people don't know a lot about me is I was a New York City police officer for 21 years. And it was the greatest job I've ever had. Growing up very early, young, my parents lived in a housing development, and some people know that as projects. And my parents, when they were successful enough, moved out of there and moved us to Co-op City, which is in the Bronx. And I grew up, between both worlds because my grandmother still lived there, and I spent so much time with her because I loved being around my grandparents. I mean, they were amazing to be around. So I was given a tremendous opportunity to go back to that area and become a police officer and serve the community that I grew up in, which was absolutely fantastic. When 9/11 happened, I happened to have only 5 years on the job. I started my career in 1994, probably for a lot of people, including both of you, were born. I was patrolling the streets. I was very young police officer. I came on when I was 22. that day, it's like I'm getting goosebumps. We have a system in the NYPD that's it's a mobile response, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have certain levels. Usually, a level one mobilization is in a particular precinct because it's a lost child or it's a lost elderly person. And I heard on the radio before I knew anything was happening. First comes over as a level one mobile response. So you don't really think nothing of that. You're like, okay, yeah, no big deal, and you kind of just pass it off as just chatter on the radio. And then a few minutes later, you hear level two come over, and the level two, what that is it is the Bronx Task Force, which is a separate response unit that covers the entire Bronx. The command in question. It's 8 police officers from that command respond to a particular location. That's for a level 2. Another minute later, it gets moved up to a level 3, and you don't really hear that. You don't really hear a level 3 because what a level 3 is it's 1 sergeant, 8 police officers from every command in that borough, and the Bronx has about 13 commands, so that's a lot. That's something really is serious going on. And then it happened. And a minute later, you hear a level 4 mobilization. And I have never in my entire career heard that come over. Even 15 years later, I never heard that come over before. And it was like a deafening silence when that hit, because we didn't know what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And what a level 4 mobilization is it's 1 sergeant, 8 police officers from every command in the city, Queens, Brooklyn, Manhattan, you name it. Everyone's got to go to a particular location, and it was in Manhattan. So they tend to us, which the terminology is for we have to go back to the command, right? And we get there, and everyone is just, we get into the precinct, and everyone has this look of terror, of dread that I mean you felt it, like it's like you walked into the building. It was so thick you could logistically cut it with a knife, and we're all watching TV, and we're seeing the first tower on fire. And none of us knew that it was terrorist related because you thought it could be on a horrific accident. Manhattan's pretty big, and there's a lot of airports, and it could have easily just been an accident. Maybe the pilot got sick, maybe they lost flight controls. It could be any of those things. And then they show live footage of the second plane hitting, and my heart dropped in a way that, I mean, I've had the displeasure of seeing many things
Mm-hmm.
as a police officer, but nothing to this. I mean, we're trained to chase people with guns and drugs and stop car thieves and rapists. We're not trained to fend off terrorists, right? That's like the military.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to learn real quick that life moving forward in New York City was never going to be the same. I mean, it was it just to this day, like talking about it, like I'm numb even just talking about it out loud, because I very rarely do.
Mm-hmm.
But I was spent about 47 days down at Ground Zero, doing different points of security, because they were very particular of who they were letting in. There was so many holes in security. After they hit the towers, you didn't know if there was going to be a secondary or a third or a fourth attack.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a point where we walked across where a building used to be, and it was something out of a Godzilla movie. The destruction that was around was just, I stood there in awe to think that where I was standing, they used to this was Manhattan because it looked like another country, like a third world country. It just was, the devastation was not to be believed. And I remember, obviously after September 11th, we didn't get a day off. We worked 15-hour tours from September 11th. I didn't get a day off until just before Thanksgiving. And it was 15 and 18-hour days, and it just, it just was, it was something that I hope that this city, as well as the world, never sees that kind of death toll where everyone was affected. I mean, you got to remember, 3,000 people died that day. I mean, it's the biggest murder in the history of time, where so many people in one fell swoop were killed. And these terrorists, when they didn't care who they killed. I mean, the different ethnic backgrounds and religions and sexual orientations and faith were all killed no matter what you were. So it just was, they went out of their way to make a statement, and they tore down anything in their path. And like I said, it was an experience I hope I never see in my lifetime ever again.
Yeah. We do want to thank you for sharing that. I know it's hard to talk about it.
No, I mean, I had to hold it back a few times. I'm not sure if you heard it, but it's tough to talk about because it's so many people that lost their lives, and it's the experiences. I mean, we were so tired, guys, that I fell asleep on the sidewalk with a group of cops.
Wow. Were you scared?
Yes. Yeah. You know what? Yeah, I was afraid because, at that time it was such an event that you didn't know. I mean, we overreacted on everything afterwards, like if it was a bomb threat, or it was something. So, because after the towers fell, there were a few different things. You had an explosion here, you had an explosion there, and right away, everyone's like, "Oh my God, they're hitting everywhere!" Like there was an explosion in a hospital on the Grand Concourse in the Bronx, and it just was a malfunction. It wasn't terrorist related. The generator exploded, but everyone, including myself, were like, "Now they're hitting hospitals. What do we do?" And it's. I never was concerned about getting in harm's way because I took an oath to protect the people of that city. And it doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people, but it meant so much to me. Like, my honor is what I put for me as a human being. My honor is the most important thing to me. And when I took that oath in 94 to protect the city, the people of the city, I meant it. Even if I died doing it, it would be something that I swore to do.
Yeah, I also remember that day, and I was younger. I was a lot younger. And I remember my mom being over there in that area, and I remember watching the TV. I remember not knowing what the fuck was going on. I remember being super confused. And I remember I couldn't get in contact with my mom at all. And we didn't know where she was. She was down there in the area because she was going to the courthouse. And my sisters and I, we were kind of just not sure what to do. And we waited for what seemed like forever. And we were waiting with our neighbor. And I remember feeling fear. I remember feeling like we were just all gonna die. Like we're everyone in the city, It was a confusing time. It was really just super eye-opening too, because you feel like you live in this big city and you feel like, nothing will happen. Right? You go through life, especially when you're young, you think nothing's going to happen. I mean, danger's out there. And where I lived, I mean, where I lived, it wasn't safe at all. So you heard stories about people dying, but you never think that something like that would happen. And when we finally, my mom had to walk all the way from down by where World Trade Center was, all the way up to where we lived, which was a few miles. And when she got there, we were outside and we were sitting on the steps, and I remember seeing her walking up the block to our building, and she had soot like just all over her, and like she was just like white, just like on her head, on her shoulders. Her face was like cleaned off. I think she might have wiped it, but she just had like just this like white powder just like on her, and it was so scary. When she was just walking, I freaking freaked out. I was just like, what the, like, she was that close that she was able to get that on her. And then the fact that I literally almost lost my mom that day. And what's crazy is that, I mean, my mom was a single mom. She raised us by herself. So like when I saw her coming up, like I don't know. I just remember just feeling like I wanted to cry, but at the same time I was like super happy to see her. And at the same time I wanted to, not worry her anymore, and just kind of make sure she knew we were okay. And we just like hugged her. And I don't really remember anything else outside of that. I mean, those images alone are enough to kind of just like freak you out. But I do think that everyone has their own experience with that day, if they remember, and everyone has their experience with the aftermath, or how they learned about it if they weren't, alive then, things like that. And that's something we do want to talk about, the aftermath of it, because after that happened, the city changed, like Boom said, right? Where the country changed, where, things were a lot more, security was definitely heightened. The airports were definitely different. The rules for what people can and cannot bring, all that stuff changed. But what also changed is this idea of a terrorist, right? A terrorist attack, and the way that people portray that in the media. And that's something we want to talk about a little bit, because it's not something that, again, we're not speaking from experience, because we're not the ones that are being portrayed as terrorists. But if you pay attention and you realize the propaganda that we're being fed is that a terrorist has a particular look, right? That they look a particular way.
Right.
And a lot of the times the images that we see when we see terrorists, or the people that are labeled as terrorists, are people that are Muslim and that descend from countries in like the Middle East and things like that. And as you all know, in New York City, there's people from everywhere here, right? But it turns out that because the people that were responsible, or that we are told are responsible for this attack that happened on 9/11, were of a particular religion or of a particular nationality, we're basically, the idea of terrorists is now that image, those people, right? And I know Luca doesn't have a specific memory from 9/11, but is there anything that you... She's still here, right? Okay. Is there anything that you... I was like, oh man. Is there anything that you can think of, or when you think of 9/11, like what is it that goes through your mind?
I remember... I think about the fear, and I know that things changed in terms of how the airport security handles things. And I think about, like, I was really young. I had to be like 8 or 9, so I don't have any particular memories about it. But it's kind of like I grew up in a society that has a particular feeling about a certain group of people, and it's kind of scary how, ignorance can breed fear and hatred, and it gets bad. I never knew what it was like beforehand, and I wasn't alive long enough to know that, but I can't even imagine how frightening it must have been for everyone involved. And I hope, like, I hope to God I never experience anything like that in my life. I hope something on that scale never happens again, because this world's already pretty fucked up, and
it certainly is.
And it's like we hear about terrible things happening every single day. I don't know, man. People don't make any sense to me.
The one thing I do want to
doesn't make any sense.
The one thing I do want to say is, it's and it's really going to what you're saying is that you have to look at it from 2 points of view. If you're a Muslim, it's got to be a scary place to live if you're in this country, because obviously due to what other people have done, people then now look onto you. And I say this to the chat, I say this to the world. Don't put people under an umbrella, because not everybody is the same. You understand? I have tons of Muslim friends, and I love them just like much as I love my family. My partner at the time, who is Guyanese, but looks Muslim, right?
Yep.
His first name is Azmat, right? He's one of my best partners I've ever had. When we were out there in the streets, he was getting the look from the people, and that, I mean, it's just, it becomes a, scary disposition that, you're out there, doing your job to protect the people from the bad guy, but now you got to worry about protecting your partner from the people.
Yeah.
And that was something that we had to deal with. Thankfully, it never got violent, because he was wearing a uniform, and he served the military for 25 years. On the front lines. He's been to Afghanistan 4 tours, fighting for this country. But someone looking at his skin and seeing, at his, looking at him like, well, they wouldn't know that. So I say this to people, please don't don't judge someone based on an opinion. Know that person. I mean, the same deli that I used to go to that is Muslim run, I went to after 9/11, and every time I went in there, they apologized. Oh, we're so sorry this happened. And I'm saying, I used to tell them, don't apologize. You didn't do it. But they felt it necessary that every cop that came into that deli, they apologized, because they felt like they did something wrong. And I used to tell them all the time, no, but you didn't.
Yeah. That's the thing, right? Because when things like this happen, people want people to blame, right? They want to blame something, they want to blame someone. And so that opens the door for, and especially the thing that happens is, what happens is the media, right? Where people see these images, right? They see the images of this is what causes terrorism. This is what is being shown over and over and over again. And you may say that these things don't influence your opinions and things like that, right? Like, you don't believe the news or things like that. But if you see images over and over and over again, and the same word or label being made with that, or the association, even if it's subconscious, your mind, it just absorbs that. Right? And you have to actively, consciously make sure you tell yourself, or make sure you work on not labeling this particular, a person that looks like this, right, as a particular thing,
It's harder now, Blue. And the reason I say that is because, it's the same question. Well, what is a terrorist, right? Is a terrorist someone that came from Iraq or Yemen or, Afghanistan? Are they a terrorist? It's this year alone.
I mean, we had a lot of shootings.
So many stuff. I mean, so many things happen with the vehicles. How do you stop that? What? I don't know if our government has the answer to that, because anyone could get behind a 3,000-pound truck and go running into an Easter egg festival where it's packed with women, children, and guys with their families. and there's no way to deter that. So it is a scary disposition, but it is a very serious fine line that we have to walk, and it's made it's made living in this country a lot harder than it used to be back in the days, where you just worried about whether or not you were going to be late going to work, or you were going to have enough money to buy that new game that was coming out. Now it's there has to be a tremendous amount of forethought. And I hate to say this, but fear is everyday life, unfortunately. I'm not saying you should live like that, but you definitely got to you got to have a sixth sense, so to speak, and you got to be aware of your surroundings. You can't just walk with your head in the clouds.
Yeah. And it's interesting, right, where you were talking about the people, getting in cars and running over crowds of people. If a person looks of a particular nationality, then the media is quick to make them out to be a terrorist, right?
Yeah.
Whereas when we had the shooting that happened in LA,
during the concert, yes.
Yeah, the Paddock person that basically killed 59 people and injured 527. The person was not outright named a terrorist, right? That conversation had to be brought up. And the facts are that when it becomes that the person that did that was white.
Yes,
right?
And he was a millionaire. So there is some. You see, the reason why the media didn't immediately, because here's the thing: when it first happened, everyone, including myself, you start to wonder whether or not it was in fact a terrorist attack, because it is considered a soft target, and that's what we considered. Concerts and churches and mosques and libraries, those were all considered soft targets, right? Because there are no real threats to those. So that's why a lot of the times when you hear these things happen, they're aimed at those particular sites where there's a significant amount of people, but the security is just, it's there, but it's not enforced. Let's just say the reason why they call him a lone wolf, simply because usually, and again, this is not every case, but usually when a terrorist incident happens, immediately the Taliban or another group takes responsibility for doing it, right? It usually takes like the next day they'll come out with a statement, they'll put out a video,
right? ISIS,
or ISIS, and they'll say, okay, yes, we were responsible, this person came to us and we sent him on a mission. Whereas we still don't know why this guy did this, because this guy was Caucasian. He was self-employed. He was a millionaire. The guy was absolutely loaded. His family comes from money. So there's no we'll probably never know, because there was no note recovered saying that, he was mad at, the world for doing this, and this is why he decided to fight back. So we don't know, but I mean, I think it's safe to say that in that particular instant, there was some mental illness that was undocumented, and that's unfortunately what wound up happening during that concert.
The issue, though, is where it's Deadliest mass shooting, right?
Yes,
that we know,
right.
And yet the person was labeled a lone wolf, right?
Right.
Like, what deems a terrorist? Does it have to be religiously based? Does it have to be? In my opinion, I think any terrorist, in my opinion, is one that can do things like that, can kill massive amounts of people.
Can cause terror.
Exactly.
And that's
which is what that was.
Yes,
right? You're in a
absolutely.
concert, you're having a good time, and all of a sudden you die. And I feel that it's important, right? Because the media has a responsibility. And I feel that they're not, and I don't know who's in charge, right? Who's making the calls and things like that, but they're not taking into account the ideas that they're pushing, the images that they're placing in people's heads and people's minds.
I think they are taking it into account. I think
you think that they're doing it on purpose?
Oh, absolutely. I think there's been too many instances where something like this has happened, and they completely painted the assailant as someone who's like, oh, he was a nice guy. I don't know what happened to him. He must have just snapped. And it coincides with his skin color, right? Like it's usually a white guy. And I don't know, man. Like media, I don't trust the news. And people can call me a conspiracy theorist and all that bullshit all they want. But the amount of things that I've seen in the way they portray certain things, it's all deliberate, in my opinion. And it's all propaganda. They're all pushing an idea forward because they want to create a mass hysteria and fear towards a certain subset of people. It's all premeditated, in my opinion. Like, this is just what I've observed in my very short time here
Well,
on this
you're
planet.
certainly not wrong for that. But what we have to remember is this: it's the same way a YouTuber will put something up on their on their page. Like they'll do a video and the subtitle will be like this, and this, and it gets everyone to what? Click, right? Everyone gets in there. So when they, at the end of the day, media isn't, they're not doing this because they want to, give the American people information. They're doing it because it sells news
Mm-hmm.
and magazines and papers and YouTube and all of this, TV time. It's just something else to look at when you turn on CNN or Fox or, Channel 4, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's just to sell media. So a lot of the time, I mean, the days, and again, I hate to keep saying back in the days, but when you seen it, like a journalist was a journalist because he wanted to report the facts, right? He wanted to report the news. So, he felt pride in his work that he was going out there and putting it all on the line to give the American people the information that he felt as a journalist deserved to know. And that we have moved really, really far from that kind of reporting where it's
Mm-hmm.
just a flash in the pan. Whatever's going to sell the most media is what they're going to go with, whether it be innuendos or opinions, or it doesn't matter as long as it sells news. And that's one of the biggest problems with the media in this country.
Yeah. And what's great now is that we as individuals have the ability to control what we're being told and what media we follow, right? Because with the internet and with, social media and all of that, we have the ability to control what side of things we see, what we allow, what images we allow
Right.
into our lives. And there's ways to avoid watching the news, but also still getting your news from a source that you feel is not pushing a particular agenda. And so that's the good thing about that, where we can take control of that part, what we're being told, what we're seeing. But still, how can individuals change their mind frame if they feel, and of course, this is going to have to be from people who are super self-aware, who are able to say like, hey, yeah, I'm kind of labeling this person. I'm kind of like stereotyping them right now. How can we ourselves work on that? How can we make sure that we don't fall into that, the mass of people who feel that these stereotypes are true?
I just think it really comes down to the person. I think you have to look at things with full perspective, and it's really up to the individual as a person to be able to be mature enough to do that. Instead of following trends and instead of just getting in line, you got to look at it and say, you know what, I don't agree with what they're saying over here on the right, and I certainly don't agree with what they're saying on the left. So I'm going to go based on how I'm looking at it. And you judge things based on your personal experiences as well as your personal opinion. I don't think anyone should be guided by any particular news source or or reporter, because remember, they're giving a lot of the times. You'll notice in these reports that there's news, but there's also opinion. And a lot of the times you may not agree with their opinion. So I think it's really what it comes down to is personal preference, and what you are willing to, how you're willing to perceive a particular incident.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree 100%, man. I think it really comes down to an individual basis, and you have to make the decision to not follow those initial thoughts, because we all experience it, right? Like, you see someone, you immediately have a snap judgment of them, and then you have to work backwards and be like, okay, this is a snap judgment. I don't actually know this person. This person is an individual. I'm judging them based off a certain characteristic they have. This isn't who they are. And it's like sort of an active thing that you have to do. And I think it's something that everyone has to work at every day and every time they interact with a new person or a new group of people. It's not something that's just like you meet someone and you immediately like, oh, okay, hey, you're cool, and like, you don't judge them. We all judge people. It's just how it is.
Yeah, I
As
agree.
humans, we try to categorize people in order to we like to assess the possibility of threat. We have to, as humans, control or figure out what it is that we are dealing with, right? In order to know how to react to the situation. It's one of those things that it just happens automatically. We categorize in order to, when you're a baby, you see an animal, right? You don't know what the animal is. Someone tells you what it is. Then when you see, and I think I've mentioned this before, right? If a baby sees a cat, they know, oh, four-legged animal with fur, cat. But then if they see a dog, they'll think it's a cat at first because that's based off of their experience and what they've been taught. But eventually they'll figure out, okay, this is a cat and this is a dog. And then we just start from there. We categorize in order to figure out life, right? But the problem that we have when we get older is that we start categorizing people. And when we categorize people too far, it leads to stereotypes and it leads to us believing particular stereotypes. And it's wrong. I mean, it is wrong. It's not something that we should do, but it's something that happens, and you have to be completely super just aware of what you're doing, and you have to be willing to sit and think what it is that you're doing, right? Not saying that it's something you have to think about right when it's happening, but it's something definitely you should think about when you're safe, when you're home, when you're, just figuring things out. And a lot of people don't do that. They don't take the time to do that. But it's important. I think
I agree.
I think we had a great conversation here with this topic. We are going to be leaving some sources for you all to check out in the info bar below when the video goes up later. So definitely check those out, and there'll be a YouTube video link that you can watch so that you can see what we are talking about based off of someone who has gone through it, who has been labeled, because of the images that people see and has been stereotyped. And I think it's something that'll open your eyes, and I think that that's a good thing. Don't be afraid of information. So we're gonna move on now to our next segment, and that is fuck that shit. Of course, in Fuck That Shit, we give you a little rant about something that annoys us or something we cannot stand that happened. And sometimes it makes you guys laugh, so it's great. Luca, what's your Fuck That Shit this week?
All right, so there's been a video circulating the internet. It's always a video, right? But it's about this police officer who shot an unarmed man, and it was a very disturbing video. The police officer, he told the young man to get down. He was like, if you move or if you don't listen, I will shoot you. I will end your life. That kind of stuff, right? But he was yelling at him, and he was deliberately saying things to terrorize him into making a mistake. So he said stuff like, cross your legs behind you and then put your hands in the air. Okay, put them down. Okay, crawl towards me. How can you crawl towards someone if your legs are crossed behind you and your arms are in the air? You have to put them down to crawl, right? You have to uncross your legs to crawl, right? And he ended up shooting the guy. Apparently he got off from this blatant murder. It's odd to me that stuff can be like recorded and you can see very clearly that it's a murder, that it's messed up, and people will still be like, yeah, he's fine. And I would like to point out that on the side of his gun, he had "you're fucked" etched into it. So if that doesn't give you a little insight into this guy's
Yeah, that's concerning.
Very concerning.
Yeah, in the 21 years as being a police officer, I think I only pulled my gun 6 times, and every time it was because there was a weapon presented. When I was very young on the job, and when I came on, there were a lot of older police officers, and we were taught that the firearm is, the minute it comes out of the holster, it becomes a liability, not just for you, but for everybody around you, because if you don't get control of that, then you're in big trouble. And a situation can go from being just talking about it to being the end of your life. So I don't know, when you see things like that, just because someone wears a gun and a shield doesn't always make them a good guy. And that kind of stuff, when you see, etched into your thing, like you're fucked, is there's some mental instability, and maybe the person should not be considered someone you'd go to for help. I'm just, throwing it out there.
Absolutely not. It's just fucking spooky, man. Like I don't understand. And okay, I can say this. I did jury duty. It was for a rape case, and I say I don't understand, but I kind of do, because it was very, very, very clear that this young man, he raped this woman. All the evidence pointed to it. Like, they had like doctors there explaining what happened. Like, all of the evidence pointed to it, right? The guy had a really bad alibi. He was like, yeah, I was at a funeral at 12 p.m. or not 12 p.m., 12 a.m. and I was just walking down the street, and what was the name of the person who died? I don't actually know it. Like, stuff like that, right? Just like extremely, like, okay, very clear, very obvious, like, clearly this guy did it. Like, it's going to be an easy thing to do, right? But it always takes that one person on the jury to be like, well, actually, I don't think they did it, for just to fuck everything up. Because even though it was clear that this guy raped this girl, there was this woman on the jury, actually 2 women, but she changed her mind real quick. But there was this woman on the jury who was just kind of like, I don't actually think he did it. And the spooky part is, she signed off on 3 out of the 4 counts of rape, but she wouldn't sign off on the last count, because I'm like, okay, so you believed he raped her for these instances, but you won't sign off on the last one? And it just goes to show you that it takes one person to look at that video and be like, actually, I think it's fine. I don't think he did anything wrong. And then for you to be like, oh shit, okay, this is gonna be an issue, obviously.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
It's crazy. It's crazy how people just perceive things, and just, man, it's crazy. Like, it's something that's so obvious to me, so clear to me, someone can see it and just think something completely different. I don't understand it at all.
Yeah, to me, it sounds very cut and dry. So it is slightly shocking.
I mean, and at the end of the day, she changed her mind, because we were all just like, what's going on? She changed her mind, and the guy, he's in jail. He's going to be there for a long time. But that instance in my life, it was a very interesting time. It's very, very interesting. It was my first time getting the jury duty notice. It was the first time serving on a jury. It was like my first everything. And it just gave me a little bit more insight into the human mind. And it made me realize, hey, people really just, based off their personal experiences, will really just let things slide. Yeah, things that are clearly just very clear,
It seems, Luca, that common sense seems more of an option than an actual thing, right? Like, you see something, exactly. It's there in front of you, you read it, and comprehension is sometimes absent, and that's why you get things like that.
Yeah, it's so, I don't get it at all. Like, I genuinely do not understand it at all. Like, I don't know, but I mean, I probably shouldn't have been on that jury, because honestly, if I hear the words someone was raped or it's a rape case, I'm immediately against the person who was accused. So maybe I shouldn't have been there. So I don't know.
What about you, Boom? What's your fuck that shit?
Well, my fuck that shit is bullying. It's something that I dealt with as a youth officer for many years because basically my entire career I spent helping kids in helping the youth of that particular community, and it was something that I absolutely love doing. And as great as social media can be, it really does fan the flames for bullying. And I hate it. I think it's if you bully someone, you're a coward. And I'm speaking to the people who bully. If you find it uplifting to present terrible things over the internet about another person, whether it be their sexual orientation, their religion, their skin color, how much money they come from, you're a piece of shit. Okay. And I have seen it. I'm very new to the social media thing. I mean, I of course knew about it, but the last 6 months, being on podcasts and starting my own channel, this is a very new experience for me. And you see the hate and the viciousness that comes with the social media, and it's for me very disturbing, to say the least. And I think that if you are one of these people that go out of your way to hurt others with words, then you're probably one of the weakest human beings, and you should probably seek some sort of help, because only people who have low expectations on themselves project that to people who are happy go lucky, and they just want to pee on their parade, so to speak. And I just, like I said, I have no. You cannot tell me anything is right about being a bully. Not a thing. If you don't like someone, then you don't like them. But to go out of the way to hurt them is, especially when physical violence comes into play, because that's what usually follows. First, it's name calling, then it's posting on Facebook or Snapchat or whatever else you want to go out there to do. But then it turns into physical, and that's when, if you see this happening, I'm not saying everyone should be involved. I have like a police sense that will never leave. So when I see something wrong, I'm going to act on it. That's just my instinct. But you should always put yourself in. If you know something is happening, you should put yourself in the shoes of that person and realize, maybe they just need someone else to stand up for them. Again, it's just my way of thinking.
Exactly. People target those they perceive to be weak. You know
Yep.
what I mean? And I don't there's been a couple of instances where people have tried to bully me, but I'm so.
Well, you curb stomp them on a regular basis.
I do, but I haven't always been like how I am now. I was a very, very different person when I was like 19 and younger, right? I didn't change until after I hit like 2021. But when I was younger, it's not something I experienced really, but I'm pretty sure I was bullied when I was in what was it? The YMCA fucking summer program. And it wasn't until like a while ago where I was like, oh shit, I was bullied, and I didn't even acknowledge it, because people like trying to hurt me or threats of physical violence, that stuff doesn't affect me at all. I'm just kind of like, okay, whatever, do it, just fucking do it. But it's just like they'll choose who they perceive to be weak, and they'll go after that person, especially if they see that it affects them. I truly believe that I wasn't bullied more just because I'm just kind of like blasé about threats of physical violence, and anyone threatening me or saying anything to me, I'm just like, okay, whatever. But not everyone can be like that.
I do think that, I agree. It's important to call people out when they're doing wrong, especially if it's hurting someone and you see it hurting someone, then it's definitely something you should probably, say something about. But not a lot of people do, and not a lot of people will, and it's just, how it is, unfortunately. But yeah, fuck that shit. I do have one. It's definitely not super serious, just, the usual. I go to this store to order some dinner sometimes, and I don't know why I keep going in there. The food's okay. the place is like fine. Like the people in there can be annoying sometimes. So I don't know why I'm going, but the guy behind the counter that makes the sandwiches is so what's the word? Dumb. I think that's a good word for him, because every time I go in there to order, this guy, I kid you not, has me repeat the same thing like 10 times. I'm not even kidding. He says, "Hi." And I'm like, "Hi, what can I get you?" And I'm like, "Please, can I have a turkey, bacon, egg, and cheese on a hero?" And then he's like, "Okay, turkey, bacon?" And I was like, "Yes, turkey, bacon, egg, and cheese on a hero." And he's like, "On a hero, right?" And I'm like, "Turkey, bacon, egg, and cheese on a hero." And he's like, "Oh, okay. Lettuce and tomato? Turkey, bacon, egg, and cheese on a hero. No lettuce, no tomato."
I have a question.
Like,
what's a hero?
It's a kind of bread, Italian bread. And he's like,
is it pronounced as hero?
Yes.
Okay.
And he's like,
spooky.
Some people say hoagie. Some people, there's different terminologies. But when you say hero sandwich,
is this like a New York thing?
Yeah, I think it is, because someone else asked me the same
agree.
thing.
I think it is.
And I'm
I've never heard of that before.
It's just, okay, that's not the point. The point is that it's a piece of bread that you put a sandwich on, and it's not a round bread, it's a long bread. And I'm just here like, "Can you just give me my food?" And he's like, "Yeah, but like, who puts lettuce and tomato on a turkey, bacon, egg, and cheese? Who does that? Like, I don't understand why he keeps asking me this." And then he's just like, "Yeah, but okay." And then he'll like start making the sandwich, and then he's like, "Okay, so you wanted turkey, bacon, egg, and cheese, right?" And I was like, "Oh my God." Yes, turkey, bacon, egg, and cheese, please. I just need my food. I'm like, I'm so hungry. And he's just like, all right, I got it. And then he'll like start making the food, and he'll get the bread, and then he'll like cut it, and then he'll like look at me, and he's like looking at the bread, and then he's like looking at me, he's like, "Hero, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what the fuck? Yes, hero." There's no one else around. There's no one else ordering. Bro, what is wrong with you? And then he's like, all right. And then like he'll go and he'll cook it, and he's like making the eggs, and then he'll be like, "So you want mayonnaise?" And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. You can give me mayonnaise. And he's like, all right. And then he'll just like make the sandwich. And then I kid you not, one time I asked for Swiss cheese, right? Same exact thing. Usually when you say cheese, they'll put American cheese. It's fine. But like, I asked for Swiss cheese 10 times, same thing over and over. And I'm like, all right, he must have gotten it. I said it enough times for him. No, he put American cheese.
Good grief.
And I'm like, I don't understand how you can screw it up. There's one person ordering one sandwich, and you're here acting a fool. How did you get this job? That's what I want to know.
I don't have an answer. I don't think anyone would.
I don't understand. So yeah, I think I'm going to have to stop going to that place, because he just gives me a headache. Literally 10 times telling you the same thing, and he's just like, "Wait, what?
That's try and find somewhere else, man, for sure."
Well, yeah, that's a thing that happens apparently. Oh my gosh. All right, so I'm gonna move us on to the next segment, which is basically just our plugs, and then we will tell you where to find us, and then we'll give you those links. I forgot. We were just doing fuck that shit, and I completely forgot that we have to do but why though. Guys.
Rip.
I'm so sorry. I'm over here talking about, because this was definitely a but why though moment, right? But it's also a fuck that shit moment. So it's like two things in one. But tell us what you have, Luca, for but why though, if you have anything. That guy has me all fucked up.
Jesus. I went to Walmart yesterday, the spooky Walmart, the Walmart that's at the suspect part of town. There was a lot of spooky stuff going on. But I was walking out, I was just trying to get home. It was freezing. I was trying to escape. Almost got hit by a couple of cars. People, I don't know what's going on with that. But when I was walking by, I saw this woman standing outside of this car, and the car kept honking at her. and like kept moving forward, like kept inching forward and inching back, like they were gonna hit her, and she wouldn't move. And then like I guess she was arguing with the person, and she threatened to call the police, and I was just like, what is going on? And it was like they were fighting for like a disability spot, you know? And I was just kind of like, I don't understand, because there was spaces like around them. So that was just, I don't know, man. People like, and the person like, when she finally moved out of the way, they were like inching out, and then it's kind of like they wanted to go back, and like, I don't know what they were thinking. I wouldn't argue with someone if I was in a car, or I don't know. That shit was weird, man. I don't know what happened, but I've had one instance where I was in a car and then someone was acting spooky outside of it, and I was just like, okay, let's keep it moving. But to argue with someone in the middle, it was fucking cold, and it's just a parking spot. Like, but why would you do that though? I don't get it. And there were spots everywhere too, so people are weird. I need to stop going to that Walmart, but I'm a little short on cash right now, so you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm still thinking about this guy fucking 10 times.
I actually, as talkative as I am, I don't have a but why. I'm so sorry.
It's fine. I just don't understand. Like, can someone explain to me why this man? Like, that's another thing too, because like American cheese is yellow, right? Like, I mean, there is a white American cheese, but the American cheese that they have in this store is yellow. We know this. Right. I know this because I've seen it over and over and over again. And yet he still thinks that it's okay to just like put fucking American cheese when I asked you for Swiss cheese. I asked, you have one job, sir. One job. And now someone in chat says, hey, with that amnesia, I would be concerned if they even remember to wash their hands. And I'm like, oh my God, great.
Great. Yeah, see, that's even worse.
Great. He wasn't wearing gloves.
He wasn't wearing what?
No.
Is that a New York thing?
Oh no. You can get big fines for that. You're supposed to wear gloves and hairnets and the whole and then you're making food. You don't want your pillow falling into someone's sandwich, right? I mean,
I can't remember if he was wearing gloves. Sometimes they don't wear gloves though. It's kind of weird.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going there anymore. Yeah, it's a cheapo bodega place. It's just like a corner store, and not like a nice place. And I think I'm done. All right, but why though? Like, okay, another thing that I want to bring up. So yes, I take taxis or Ubers or whatever you call them.
They're called Ubers, but okay.
To home sometimes from work, and usually it's only when they have a good sale. Like I'll pay like $1 just to get from one place to another. And I want to know why this one cab I got into had like 50 car refresheners and hanging from his like, what was that? His mirror. And I'm over here just like confused because number one, why do you have 20? Like that seems a little bit like overkill, right? I don't understand. So I'm sitting there and I'm just like, all right, well, I'm glad his car doesn't stink. But at the same time, you ever have this scent that it's, first of all, the scent wasn't that great, right? I don't remember what color or scent it was, but it wasn't a great one. And so I'm thinking, all right, not only does your car smell super, super strong like this stuff, but it's not even a good smell. Like, have you ever walked by someone and they have this like strong smelling perfume and it's just like, ugh, it makes you want to gag? It's so strong. It was kind of like that. And I'm just sitting here. First of all, I get a little bit motion sickness in cars because when they stop and go often, and in the city, sometimes when there's traffic, that happens. It makes me feel sick. So not only am I sitting there in this car feeling a little sick, the smell is ridiculous. It's like going in my nose and in my mouth and just making me feel super sick. And so I'm just like, all right, well, it's fine. I'll just open the window. So I press the button to open the window and the window doesn't open. The fucking window is not working. And I'm sitting there like, what's happening? Is this like, this must be his little sick way of getting back at his customers. Like, you guys don't want to tip me? Fine, I'll make you suffer. And I'm just like, can you please just get me home? It took literally like 10 more minutes to get home that day than it usually would. So, you know, just note to self, like if you ever, all of you, if you have a car, don't have like 20 car fresheners hanging around. Like I appreciate you trying to be clean and trying to make your car smell good, but it's a problem if you need 20. You know what I mean? That's a little strange. What are you trying to hide? What scent are you trying to hide? I'm just saying. All right, well, that is all. Why? That's all I want to know. Are we done? Did you chat is so funny. Did you have anything else you would like to say for but why though?
I'm good.
No, I'm good. Thanks so much.
All right. Let's move on now to the right segment, which is our plugs. Our plugs. All right, guys. So here we tell you where to find us, where you can see our content, and what you can do to get there. Boom. Thank you so much for being here on the show today. We appreciate you.
Oh, it was an absolute honor to be here today. I do greatly appreciate the opportunity to get out and speak to the audience about something other than video games, because of course that's super easy to do. But if you're interested, you could follow me on Twitter at Mr. BoomstickXL. I also recently launched my own YouTube channel, Double Barrel Gaming with Mr. BoomstickXL. You could find that on YouTube. And you can also find me on 2 podcasts weekly. One is Coffee, Casuals, and Consoles, which is Wednesday mornings on YouTube at 10:30 a.m. And you can find me on Crossfire Friday nights at 7 p.m.
Nice. What about you, Luca? Where do we find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at TheAshenLuca, and you can find me on the RDX podcast, and that is on Dealer Gaming's channel. It is a Xbox-related podcast, and yeah, interesting episode. Had a really good time, Boom Bro. Thank you so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem, Luke. Anytime.
Just a reminder that all of these links are going to be down below. So if you are listening later, you can go to the info bar and click, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you do want to drop some comments below for us to let us know how you feel about any particular segment, or if we missed anything, or if you have a resource you would like to send us, that would be awesome. We do talk about lots of things when it comes to our channel on Twitter, so definitely go follow us there for updates on Speak. And if you comment below, best believe we will get back to you. I have been commenting back on all the comments, I believe, and Luca's been commenting too, so definitely don't be afraid to comment. If you want to get at us directly, you can reach us on Twitter. I think Luca's your DMs are open, right?
Yes, they are.
My DMs are also open.
So is mine.
Don't send us some weird shit, okay?
Don't say that. If you say stuff like that, then they're gonna do it, man. Oh man. Okay. Send
Listen,
it all to Blue.
No, send it all to Luca. She'll be willing to handle that. We also have a Discord where we allow people to do some ranting. So if you want to join the Discord, check it out below. There's a link, and people have been doing some fuck that shit rants that are hilarious. So funny. If you want to be on the show, definitely let us know, and you can send us an email with a voice memo or with a written out text, whatever you want to do. The holidays are coming up though, so we may have to figure out something for that, but we will let you guys know on Twitter. Look for it there. All right, that is all. Thank you so much, Boom,
Bye.
again. And I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.
Take care, everyone.
Adios.